Is it getting too high for the falsy stuff? With the ripcord on the alibi. People kind of probably think of him and I as mopey bastards, and we wanted to make sure that that wasn't the case.
We didn't want to do the predictable thing and make a record that sounded like you would imagine the two of us to sound together.
We were both really big fans of all of that Berlin era Bowie, like Heroes and Low and those records. So we decided that would be the kind of period that we would think about, I guess, when we were writing songs.
It's more just a way of doing things that helpfully guide us away from the way we've always done things ourselves anyway.
What we're talking about, I guess, is not just bands, but also the kind of technology that was available.
I got really, really obsessed with old analog synthesizers where basically you really have to create the sound yourself from scratch. Yeah, every time I got a new toy, it was like, oh, I want to go back and put that on everything. Hope we never pass this way again.
Part of the problem that Paul and I have is that we can't stop piling ideas on.
Yeah, like we were throwing everything at them and a lot of ideas.
One of the things that we discovered in Norway when we didn't really have a producer as such is that having someone whose view comes from outside is really helpful.
My name's Craig Sylvie and I'm here to produce.
He got what we were talking about when we were sort of saying to him, we'd like to make a record that kind of falls somewhere between 1977 and 1985.
It's a real interesting period because it's sort of like super high quality songwriting connected with interesting and more experimental sound. That kind of merge of those two things that made it, I think, for a really amazing period of time in music. And
we didn't know what we were going to do in terms of band. That was part of the idea of going to Norway. We just said, let's just go there and we'll just play it all ourselves and see how that works out. I think we kind of realised that when someone's playing drums, bass and guitar on something, all of the nuance on each instrument is quite similar. And so you end up with this thing that doesn't really have the push and pull that you need to make a band sound really good.
Before we even had chosen a producer, we had struck on the idea of two amazing musicians. Michael Urbano's a drummer, Craig McFarlane is a bass player, and I met them when I was touring with a group called Celebrating David Bowie. Just their energy and their skill and their vibe and everything, they blew me away. So I told Bernard, maybe those guys should play on our record. I texted both of those guys. They were both like, just let us know the time and place and we're there. And then Michael Urbano was like, well, I've actually started managing the old record plant. This is a legendary place.
The record plant in Sausalito had been closed for 9 years and was in the process of being reopened. And he said, well, if we're going to be able to go there, it has to be kind of guerrilla style.
And we were totally up for it. We've made records in temporary setups. And then the more we talked about it, the more exciting it got. It was like, well, we're going to get to test drive, the record plant before it reopens as, this amazing studio.
Fuck it, let's just go. It's the record plant. Let's go there and do it with these guys. Just lots of things kind of fell into place and all the way through the process.
I grew up in the Bay Area and I moved away in the late 90s to live in London and sort of almost forgot about the Bay Area when Bernard and Paul walked through my door in London and suggested that we make a record in the Bay Area. Funny enough, using one of my oldest friends, Michael Urbano, on drums. And I don't think they even knew that I knew Michael.
Which was also a massive fluke.
He knows Michael Urbano, he knows Craig McFarlane. He's made albums with them, 25 years ago. And they're all kind of old buddies. And it turns out he's a San Francisco native and he's worked at the record plant before. So it just was all like, okay, all these pieces are falling into place.
So many things that came together for this were flukes. So we just kept kind of like pulling the thread whenever a fluke happened. We just said, let's keep going.
But when all the pieces are just sort of falling into place and it's making it so easy for you, then that seems like, a good track to follow. And yeah, why fight it?